You know that Thanksgiving is in the month of November. All month we give thanks for all the blessings we have. And we are so blessed to have friends like the Coshada, Alabama Coshada, and other indigenous nations of the world. They represent to Americans what I represent a people of love and peace. And that was also Toby Powell. He was a man of love and peace. So as we go forward to Thanksgiving on our Thanksgiving table, let us give thanks for all those who show such love and peace to us all. Dr. Monika Ponton-Arrington is a justice of the United Nations Council of Indigenous People. She is a winner of multiple awards and is the executive director of numerous groups associated with such as the International Interfaith Alliance for Peace. Remember I said our brethren are peaceful, as well as several other indigenous organizations. Significantly, Monika is also chief of the, and I am not going to pronounce this, Tahano of the Caribbean, the people who first encountered Columbus on his arrival to the New World. So, Monika? Did you have some slides to show also?
I am Daka Taino, Daka Kasike Suimaku, Usa Kasakura, Dali Bamaka, Daka Wahi, Borikan. I could go on, but with the understanding why we're here. So I'm going to let that go. Being Taino is a struggle. Our language was lost. We're still learning it. We are now in the process of doing our first dictionary. A lot of words that you think that are Spanish are actually Taino words. Maraca, iguana, hamaca is for hammock. Hurricane is huracan in our language. We have, our drum is actually a drum made out of a log, and it's called a mayowakan. But I just wanted to give you a little bit of history of who the Taino people are. We cover the Caribbean islands. We're the ones that Christopher Columbus called Indians first, Indios. And we are an Arawakan-based tribe. Our language is Arawakan-based. And the Mayocan, which is, if you turn it around, and I've got the sticks back there, and you'll see it on Saturday, and everybody gets a chance to play it and everything. I also have a guamo, which is our, what we call our conch horn. And I can play that, and it would resonate and reverb for miles and miles and miles. Luko is a word for people. Ana, what we call Anon Inabon Ri is my clan. And my tribal name is basically, we're Higuayagua. And yes, it's very hard to say. And you know, people, Higuayagua, yeah, Higuayagua. And those are what we call the island people. So as you can see, we are the first people. You hear a First Nation and so forth, and I can actually say we are the first people that were called Indians first. Can you go to the next slide, please? And if you understand, we cover the Caribbean and the lower part of Florida, and we also did trade with the Muskogee Creeks, all the way through Texas, the lower panhandle of Texas, Florida, all the way up to the North Carolina. And they even found petroglyphs from our people in the state of Georgia, and that's where I live now. And as you can see, you have a mayocan, you have the horn, and we played what we call with a big, heavy rubber ball. And if you've seen some Aztec and Mayans, we did the same thing. It had to go through a hoop up in the air. And you would break bones, just like with the little man of war games, or little brother of war games that they call stickball with the southeastern tribes. And we're the ones that discovered Columbus. He didn't discover us. Next slide, please. Again, we lived in what we call bohíos. Bohíos were made out of straw, and when the hurricanes or hurricanes come, we would hide into the caves. And if you go on to most of the Caribbean islands besides the Bahamas, you will find it very mountainous, and the dialects would change as with any island. If you go deeper into the mountains, their dialect was slightly different than those that were living on the coast. We were a matrilineal, clan-based tribe. That means the women were the ones that ruled. And I like that, because I'm a cacique. Next slide, please. And again, if you can take a look, you got the Lucayas, you got the Cubanas, you got the Hamacas, you got the Quisicayas. Boricuen is where most of my family comes from in the Kalinagos. These are all Arawakan-based speaking tribes, and they are all considered, even though they have separate names, right now we are grouped as Tainos as a whole. Next slide, please. Actually, where I come from, my family comes from, is called Boricuen, which is known to a lot of people as Puerto Rico. The people there were known as Boricuas, and we were considered the classic Tainos. And that means that we were very much more advanced than the larger islands, because our island, Puerto Rico, Boricuen, is only 100 by 35. So I've been there. I could go around the whole island in one day. No big deal. Or as you can say, you can go from one end to the other as the crow flies. What I like to say is, and I know everybody's heard this, in 1492, Christopher Columbus sailed the ocean blue. Yeah, he did, and he landed among my people. That was not a good thing for us. I've been accused of more than once, why did you allow him to live, by other indigenous cultures? It's a joke. We were considered a very much an open, welcoming other people into our communities and into what we call our chiefdoms. And our caciques, there wasn't just one chief. Right now, there is a total of 28 chiefs among the Caribbean islands, and I'm just one of 2 females that I know, 4 females that are actual chiefs of the tribes that are listed throughout the Caribbean islands. And one other thing, the Caribs, which everybody thinks were cannibals, which they were not, would steal the women from the island of Boricuen, where my people from, because they were considered the most beautiful women. And they also had 2 separate languages. Men spoke one language, and the women spoke their own language. So think about that. So you can see some of the words that I'm trying to say, because I'm still learning. Yes. But if you look at our language, it's a very, we're still researching, even though we have now been working with Harvard as well as the University of Arizona on our language, as well as our DNA and so forth. Our language, it was almost pretty much lost until we started doing some really heavy research through the text, the books, the logs of Christopher Columbus, as well as what they call the priest Payne. And he wrote a lot about the Taino people. Next slide, please. As you can see, they thought he discovered a new world. Well, you can't discover a new world when somebody already lives there. And I will tell you this, please understand this. He never came to the United States. He never set a foot here in the United States. He was in the Caribbean. If you want to talk about Ponce de Leon or De Soto, yes, they came to the United States. But Christopher Columbus never landed a foot here in the United States. And I will tell you this, and I believe most indigenous people do feel this way, he wasn't a good person. If you really look at the history of Christopher Columbus and what he stands for, and realize what him and his men did to the indigenous people of what is considered the New World, you would be horrified. So don't count him as a hero, because he wasn't, especially not among the indigenous peoples. Next slide, please. This is what he did, him and his men did. They murdered, they raped, they stole, everything you could possibly think what one human being would do to another, think 3 times worse, 4 times worse, 100 times worse. It's not, our history, especially among the indigenous people, is not a beautiful history. What's beautiful about our history today is that we are here and we have never left. And we will continue. This gentleman here, this priest here, is the one that we were able to get his logs and his writings, as well as Columbus, to start really researching about the Tainos. And a lot of people say, well, where did the Tainos come from? Why are they here now? Well, back in 1993, I will tell you this, there was a resurgence going on saying, hey, we're still here, especially from the people of Bordeaux. Anyway, to make a long story short, we had to do DNA. We found out over 88% had over 65.5% Taino blood, indigenous Caribbean blood. Again, who had the right to call us Indians? We weren't Indians. Each island had their own name for their people. On my island, we are known as Boricuas, but as anything else, just like the Cherokees were known as Gaduas. But the English call them Cherokees. We had all our own language and our own name, but everybody now has it in the history books as being Tainos, as being Cherokees, as being Ojibways and Sioux, and so forth. And these languages was not our language. Again, we cultivated, but then again, if you read what it says, they tried to enslave us. They found gold, because we greeted them with little tidbits of gold. And of course, they thought we had tons of gold, so they tried to enslave us and work us. Next slide, please. These are some of the writings that have been written, research that has been done concerning our what has going on. And this one here at the bottom happened at the Native American Museum in New York, the Smithsonian. And I was there, and I will tell you, it was a proud moment for the Taino people to finally see what we were and be able to see our artifacts, our pieces. Next slide, please. Back table, you will see some of these items there. We still do our ceremonies. And our ceremonies is no different than what anybody else does. We do our prayers. We're very much respectful to our Mother Earth and to our elders and to our ancestors. They are our teachers. This is my tribe. This is just some of us. We had to go to the Governor's Island in New York and perform. And I'm right here. This is Cacique Baracuti. He is another chief. And I work with him. And that's just a few of us. And we come in all shades of color. And again, this was a signing of a treaty right here. And as you can see, our children are our future. This is our flag right here, and it is at the museum. And I also brought it with me, so you will see it on Saturday. And each one of these symbols represents an island. And it's one of our old symbols. And these are our headdresses. And you'll see me wear mine on Saturday. Again, a lot of Tainos are just finding out that they're Taino because we have to go by DNA because the government says we were extinct. And so a lot of them are learning what it means to be Taino. And my relatives, the Cashadas, the Cherokees, all the different relatives that we have similar ceremonies, but we also have difference. Our languages are different. So you can't say we're one nation. We are many nations here in North America, and in South America, and in Central America. Next slide. And these are the people I would like to thank. And as you can see, I am with the United Nations Council of Indigenous People. I'm in the Justice Department. I'm actually considered part of the Conflict and Resolution Department. And I am a judge, and I go out to all over the country, all over the world actually, and speak to tribes that are having conflict with the government, like with Brazil and other Africa, so forth. And we work with the government to bring some kind of resolution to the issues so we don't lose our rainforest that's in Brazil. We don't lose our water sources. Ms. Joy, I brought a few gifts just for tonight, and she's going to hand them out. And there's just a small token. And again, with the Cashadas, we will be out at the museum. And I have a guamo. I can show you how to do the guamo. I can show you how to do the mayocan. We grate yuca to make our bread. We also do beans, beans and corn. And we didn't have big animals. We only had small game and birds. But what we did eat was shark, manatees, and back then, of course, dolphin. Not the porpoise. I'm talking about dolphin fish. But our islands, we could grow. We had agriculture, but most of our fruits and most of our vegetables was root based, so that's starch, and we had lots of fruit and seafood. Hahom, hahan katu, suimaku. Thank you very much.